Shalom, Israel. Real quick video giving all praises to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai by Hashem Rakah Kadash, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, double honors to the apostle, elders, bishops of Great Millstone. Much salutation to the brothers teaching word for the hopeful elect. Soon to be the elect, most high will to the hopeful extend elect. Shalom, blessings. Getting right into it. Esau, I went to GPT and I asked about the lentils, and I really asked, well, let me go to this one. Is lentils red? And they're not. Lentils are not originally red in their natural state. Lentils grow in pods and their natural seed colors. Seed coat colors vary depending on the variety. Common natural colors include brown, green, black, speckled, tan. Why are some lentils red? Well, that's what they call them. It says what we call red lentils are usually brown or green lentils that have been hulled, the outer seed coat removed. So they're called red lentils, but they're not really red. And even it says right here, once the outer skin is removed, the inner seed is orange red or salmon colored, which is why they're sold as red lentils. So even if you fix something and you know it to be brown lentils, the origin of it brown, you're going to call it, you're not really going to be specific about it. Any kind of food color, you're not going to be specific about it unless it has to do with blood, because that's a law. Well, Israelites know that's a law against their customs to not eat bloody meat. So, you'll have a situation like Jacob, and let's say even with an example of your mom cooking in the kitchen, she's making lamb stew. So really she's going to put the lamb in the stew and make it make it a soup, pottage, stew pottage. But then you be like, well, she cooks the lamb first. Well, she could cook them simultaneously, but she cooks them separate because she got to make sure the lamb, she wants to cook the lamb before she puts it in the stew. And then you say, well, let me get a piece of that lamb before you, before you complete the whole stew because I'm hungry. She gives you a piece, but, you want to eat before it even gets done, and you say, well, look, it's still cooking, it's still kind of red, so if you could just wait. Then it was like, I'm at the point to die, like what Esau said, I'm faint, I'm at the point to die. He says that it says Genesis 25:30, and Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. So why did he have to express that he was faint? Jacob must have said something to him to kind of like, yeah, wait, hold on. Then he said, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. So Edom, Edom means red. Slakia, out of Wam. And that's just, more like a description, more like personally speaking, as a man, it's confirmed that, yeah, this is a man of this character of an Edomite. Because remember, Esau came out red all over like an hairy garment. So he was already named Esau. When he first came out the womb, he was already red. He didn't have to say this, eat the red pottage to be called red. He came out red. And if you see in the scriptures, Esau is the father of the Edomites. He is Edom. Esau is Edom. It's a scripture that says those exact words. So, and Jacob, Esau goes out to get venison for his father Isaac. So definitely, and then it says in the New Testament that he sold his birthright for a morsel of meat. So definitely Jacob, well, speaking as a man also, I'm just drawing a picture for Israel. Jacob was probably, like I said, use that analogy of your mother cooking. He was probably, cooking the venison separately to put in the lentils. And then Esau said, well, Jacob said, Esau said, feed me with that same red pottage. He's like, well, hold on, I'm still cooking it. He said, well, I'm at a point to die. I'm faint, So he ate the red meat. Therefore, his name was called Edom. So it wasn't no lentils alone that he ate. It was a morsel of meat. And for that scripture to say that, I can picture that where, the meat was separate before it got put into the lentils. And of course, he probably did eat, even after the fact, he ate the red meat, and then Jacob, got through fixing the pottage, and then he probably ate that too with the pottage. With the lentils. So, furthermore, it says on verse 34, then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils. See, that's when he gave him the bread and the pottage of lentils after that. But he gave him that, he asked for the same red pottage first. And his name was called Edom. Then Jacob, 34, gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils. And he did eat and drink. And rose up and went his way. So that was like a whole kind of meal after the fact that he already ate of the red pottage. Thus Esau despised his birthright. So he sold his birthright, like it says in Hebrews, he sold his birthright for a morsel of meat. So when they depict this image, and you can see, I've highlighted some lentils as a so-called stew or soup or whatever, and it's not red. This is not red. And all you see these lentils, they're not red. And some of these lentils that have a red look to them, they're mixed with tomato sauce or some spices that makes it the color red. And I'm pretty sure Jacob didn't have that at hand. It's probably more like a simple thing that his mother Rebecca told him to do. Just prepare your, savory meat. And he basically, and Rebecca told Jacob to prepare savory meat as your Esau would do for your father Isaac. Let me get that scripture right quick. So these devils be trying to say, well, no, it was red lentils. It wasn't, That's why we often say that. How did Esau like his meat? Rare, bloody. Come on, man. So they try to act like it wasn't meat to get away. It says, this is when Rebecca told him, picking up from it, says, go now to flock, Genesis 27:9. Go now and flock and fetch me thence 2 kids of the goats, and will make thee savory meat for thy father, such as he loveth. I think this is the as thou shalt bring it to thy father and eat, and thou shalt be made blessed before thee. And Jacob said to Rebekah's mother, behold, Esau my brother. So look, yeah, this is Rebekah telling Jacob, go now to the flock and fetch me from thence two good goats of the two good kids of the goats. I'll make them savory meat for thy father, such as he loveth. And thou shalt bring it to thy father, and that he may eat, that he may bless thee before his death. And Jacob said to Rebekah, behold, my brother is a hairy man. And so this is when Jacob deceived, pretty much, stepped in the place of Esau to get that blessing. So, knowing about the venison, knowing that this is what Esau did, and to be more convincing, that would make sense that he caught him in the way to where, and he probably, I'm drawing a picture, this is not a breakdown, but, knowing that Esau, he didn't have, he was out in the field trying to get some, venison to bring it to his father, couldn't find any. He sees Jacob cooking the venison, and like, damn, he's already tired because he's been out there hunting and finding nothing. So he's like, man, I'm at a point to die. Seeing Jacob, like, hey, we're not supposed to eat bloody meat, man. Well, I'm at the point to die, so then he said, well, sell me this your birthright this day. He said, well, yeah, what does this birthright do to me? I'm at a point to die. I think and then he said, well, yeah. And then he ate, and like it said in the scriptures, he ate. He said, feed me the same Red Pottage, and then Jacob gave him the lentils and bread and drink along with it. Birthright, do it for me. Point to die. I think it uses those words. And Esau, Genesis 25:32, and Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die. Real hasty. Genesis 25:29, Jacob saw pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. Because you would think, even if he ate some red pottage, red meat, and like he does today, it's in his DNA, it's in his spirit. If he saw some venison that he would catch for his father and didn't have no means to cook it, he would eat it raw. So that kind of lets you know he couldn't find any venison for his father. Because this was like a routine thing that he would go out to the field and fetch venison and bring it to his father, savory meat. But Isaac didn't eat nothing of the blood. So he definitely, made sure he liked it how Isaac wanted it. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. I am faint, therefore his name was called Edom. And Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. And remember, this was already planned. And Esau said, behold, I am at a point to die. And what profit shall this birthright do to me? So basically, he despised his birthright. That's like it said in the scriptures. in the in the New Testament it says therefore he despised his birthright, man. You know, that's what kind of spirit and mentality he got today. Like, yeah, whatever, a careless mentality about the earth, about life, about lively stock, about human beings, about taking care of the planet, about taking care of the food. You know, being his brother's keeper, like the spirit of Cain, all over again. And Jacob said, "Swear to me this day," and he swore to him. He sold his birthright to Jacob. And of course, if you sold his birthright for a morsel of meat, there it is in Hebrews. Hebrews 12 and 16, lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. Morsel is like a portion. Even if you go into that word meat, I think. And Esau is a bloody man. That red represents blood also, because it even says of him, since thou hast not hated blood, blood shall pursue thee. He is a bloody man. He eats blood. Blood shows forth through his translucent skin. He's a murderer from the beginning. Murder represents blood, crimson. Sometimes they call it red rum. Going into that. Let's see what it says of meat in Hebrews. So Esau is trying to get out of being Esau. The so-called white man is trying to get out of being Esau. It says brosis. Let me see how they pronounce it.
Strong's G 1035. Brosis.
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 Brosis. Rust, morsel, meat, food. And it says right here, meat. So yeah, I don't want to make this too long, but all right. Was the meat Esau ate? Was the meat that Esau sold his birthright for real meat? No, it was not meat. They're going to say that in the story Esau sells his birthright to Jacob for a meal. Bread and lentil stew. And when I looked up stew too, it says no stew is really made without meat, man. Stew is, meat is the main ingredients of stew. The Hebrew word used is often translated stew or pottage, specifically lentil stew, not meat. Like I said, he ate the meat first. He ate of the red pottage first, and then Jacob gave him the bread and lentils. Because the stew was red, Esau was nicknamed Edom. So the birthright was sold for bread, lentil stew. So what stew is red, when, like I said, when you go back to lentils, like the chat GP even said that's what they call them, red lentils. It's not really red. So if you have a red stew, that means there's tomatoes in there, some spices that make it red. This is dealing with meat, and it's dealing with the venison that routinely Esau had made for his father Isaac. And it doesn't specifically say venison, but put two and two together. But now here's a Mexican dish right here. And you know it got spices in it and tomatoes. They're known for putting tomatoes and spices in there. So yeah, this is reddish stew right here. But just because it's stew, that doesn't mean it has to be that it's red. Unless you put, like I said, tomato or some kind of spice in it. So, and I'm just mentioning that too because their interpretation is off. Just like it is with everything else. Just like they say, well, Jacob tricked Esau. And they don't even mention that this is what's supposed to happen according to the Most High. Or the Most High wouldn't let it happen. This is a whole birthright given to our nation that's going to rule forever. You don't think the Most High would have intervened with that if that wasn't supposed to be the case? So that means they don't even believe in the Most High. They're mocking the Most High, coming against the Most High, saying that. Rebecca, the spirit was put on Rebecca to tell Jacob to do that, to get the blessing, to get the birthright. So, and you know, Isaac was Yahweh Shai, was Isaac too in his in the reincarnation. So definitely Most High could have put the spirit on Isaac to say, nah, yeah, you the voice is Jacob, but the hair, what you feel like is my son Esau. Yeah, I ain't gonna give you that. I'm gonna wait and try to, make sure this is right. But he gave it to him anyway. He gave Jacob the birthright because it was ordained for that to happen. And in the spirit, he was Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai is not going to give his kingdom to Esau. And it is probably pretty much preordained for Isaac to play, Yahweh Shai to be Isaac, to be that one to give Jacob the kingdom because, he's basically the one that's going to be the the main the main one of the kingdom. Establishment, the foundation, the cornerstone of the kingdom. So it makes sense that he would start it and initiate it through blessing Jacob, being there in the presence, in the flesh, but spiritually as being Yahweh Shai. And to bring those two nations together, in the future, those two kingdoms, even to this day, the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. So that we could be that kingdom again and rule forever as, Israel, which was Jacob that became Israel by name. So it just makes sense. And just go through add it up and see if it makes sense about Esau. He's a bloody man, likes his meat bloody. His blood showed through his translucent skin. He's a murderer. He's a butcherer. He doesn't mind blood touching blood. He doesn't account for anybody's blood. you know? So, yeah. He is a cunning hunter, like it said about Esau. That's in his nature, that's in his spirit, that's in his character, his mannerisms. And he lives by the sword. Now they say, well, that might be China, that might be Russia, which are Edomites. You know, most of them are Edomites. Or any other nation they try to say. Well, what about the other stuff that should fit them? Like red, like a hairy man, like, a base man, like uh, the spirit of Cain. Um, the fashions of this so long conflict between the so-called black man and so-called white man plays in the origin of Jacob and Esau being in the womb, struggling, um, that Rebecca had to inquire of the Lord about. No other nation has that kind of conflict that has ongoing back and forth to the level of an extent of injustices and constant wrongdoing, even concerning a long history of slavery, than the so-called black man and his oppressor, the so-called white man. Even in certain other countries, the injustice that they fight against is based on civil rights movement that started here in America among black people. So you can't say that this story doesn't apply to us, being the Israelites and them being the Edomites. Anyway, hopefully it was edifying to the next video. Shalom.